What is the dumbest thing you've ever heard someone say? Well, she never got pregnant before after his GF got pregnant and after asking my friend why didn't he use protection. I was microwaving some food. I hit the one so it would automatically cook it for a minute. My friend asked, why did you put it in for a minute? I usually put mine in for 60 seconds. I had to explain to him that it's the same thing. We were in high school. Someone in our group lost a flip-flop in a river. We watched it float downstream. Another person in our group said to be patient because it'll eventually do a full loop and come back. I dated a girl who thought seahorses were the size of regular horses. She was so disappointed at the aquarium. That there's no difference between turkey and ham because they both come from birds. I guess pigs really do fly in their world. How long does it take the meat to grow back on a cow when you shave it off? I knew someone who thought the sun and the moon were the same thing. She was 18 and just graduated high school. A new hire at the cotton mill that had dropped out of school to go to work. How long do we get off for spring break? I don't have a girlfriend because females are too intimidated because of my career. He was an assistant manager at Outback Steakhouse. This involves a conversation with a guy I used to work with who was trying to lose weight, so he was cutting down on pasta. Him, I've been doing pretty good, haven't had pasta in 2 weeks. Me, that's awesome, what's that you got in your hand there? Him, mac and cheese. Me, I thought you said you haven't had pasta in 2 weeks. Him, I haven't, this is mac and cheese. You have your facts and I'll have my facts. Rep Hank Johnson DGA, who thought the island of Guam might tip over if too many people got on one side. I was solving a Rubik's Cube and a guy asked me how many sides it has and if I can make them all blue. Years ago, I found myself watching MTV Street Smarts with a man I had recently met. The question asked on the show was to put these events in chronological order from oldest to most recent. The events were Civil War, Man on the Moon, Ice Age. I laughed, I joked what a ridiculous question it was. He didn't seem the least amused, so I asked him, you know this, right? He replied, I'm not good with dates, rolling on the floor laughing. I dated a girl who thought the hole in the ozone layer are where the space shuttle come through to land. If you drink a Coke then a Diet Coke, the sugar cancels out. Friend and his girlfriend were over, watching some TV when an ad for an Anne Frank documentary comes on. GFO, wasn't she like Hitler's daughter or something? The room became very quiet for a while. A manager at my old job thought Alaska was an island next to Hawaii, because that's what it looks like on a map. Also asked me one day if you could get an STD from breathing the same air as someone with an STD. There were more, but I can't remember the rest. And this person was in charge. You can't get pregnant if you are on top, smiling face with open mouth and smiling eyes. My chiropractor can cure autism with his bare hands and some essential oils. Too bad her chiropractor couldn't cure stupid. The question right above this in my feed is, why is a square called a square when it has 6 sides and 8 corners? What year did this happen? We were watching The Lord of the Rings. Am I going to be accountable for everything I say? Overheard my old boss berating the rest of the staff in a shop I used to work at. We were closing down the Bed Bath and Beyond I worked at, and we moved all the non-functional displays of the kitchen appliances off to an empty corner, roped it off and put up signs that said displays do not work. Every single day, multiple times, we would find someone that had gone under the ropes over in that far off corner looking at them, and when we went to run them off they would ask what it means displays do not work. Years ago a guy I worked with said, those people in Ireland must not be paying their taxes. The IRS keeps bombing their houses. That's not the IRS, it's the IRA, you idiot. That's what I meant, the IRA. The Internal Revenue Association. Was on the bus headed to class in Honolulu. a southerner got on and asked the driver, "Do y'all take American dollars?" The driver pointed at the American flag sticker on the window and with extreme exasperation said, "You're in America. These fireworks are wet. I'm gonna dry them off in the microwave." I was talking to a patient and I asked them which arm was injured. They said my left, your right. I was talking to them on the phone. I'm allergic to oxygen. I asked if they meant to say oxycodone and they insisted, no, they were allergic to oxygen. When I worked at Starbucks, it was a frequent question from customers to explain the difference between a hot and an iced drink. Anyone else not able to sleep at night? Yeah, I don't think I'm ternal. Took me a few to realize she thought the term was nocturnal. Many years ago I had a short stint as a used car salesman. I overheard a fellow salesperson talking with a customer about a used truck he was looking at. The truck was 1 year old and had 15,000 miles on it. The customer told him, "This is way too much money for this truck. I can get this year's model brand new for $2,000 less." My fellow salesman fired back, "Sure, but think of how much a new vehicle depreciates as soon as you drive it off the lot. Within a year or two, this truck will actually be worth more." He did not make that sale. You know right-angle triangles? Well, yeah, there are also left-angle triangles because triangles have two sides. My child has a high IQ, quality. I was in 7th grade history and the teacher asked a student which ocean Christopher Columbus crossed to get to America. She said she didn't know and the teacher replied by asking, "How many oceans can you name?" "It's gonna be one of them." The girl thinks for a moment and says Lake Champlain. "Lake Geo." The teacher cut her off by saying if it has the word lake in it, it's probably not an ocean. Got a couple from my days working in tourism in Hawaii. One of my favorites was, "What's the difference between your mushroom and Swiss burger and your bacon guacamole burger?" Next one, for context for those that don't know Maui, you can see 2 different islands from multiple vantage points on the island. Anyway, we had stopped at a lookout for some tourists to take a picture and a guy being completely serious asked, "So which one is Japan?" Rolling on the floor laughing. I was like, "Japan is about 3,000 miles to the northwest. If you can see it, you have superpowers, sir." This steak tastes just like beef. Asked for diet water on a plane. I once heard someone say they believe the old lady from the Titanic movie is an actual Titanic survivor. When I told them she's an actress, they tried to call me bluff. My childhood friend picking his team on a soccer video game. The UK. Is that us? X200B. We lived in Ohio. Birds aren't animals. Girl in a class in college loudly proclaimed Rhode Island isn't a state. I can't wear condoms because my sperms are too big and they fight in there. That 16-year-olds should be allowed to drink and drive. They spent at least 10 minutes trying to legitimately defend this point to a room of adults. The individual making the point was in her late 20s. Salmonella is only caused by salmon. You're a chef, you should know that. Read this on a post in a mildly infuriating. Vietnam isn't Asian, it's Oriental. I was taking an anatomy physiology class. We had just finished the unit about skin, in which we thoroughly discussed melanin and albinism. We had even already taken the end of unit quiz, complete with question about how albino skin happens. The next week in class, the instructor said the word albino and one girl's hand shot up to ask. I don't mean to sound racist, but like, where do they come from? I don't need to wear a condom, my sperm count is low, hoid gaff, wrap it up, Chuck. I don't even remember his name and it's not worth remembering, but that politician who said if it's legitimate rape, the body has ways of shutting down a pregnancy or something like